Chilling tales for dark nights.
Want to make sure you never miss a Chilling Tales for Dark Nights video again? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to turn on notifications.
This episode of Chilling Tales for Dark Nights is brought to you by Hims. Ever feel like you need a little boost in the bedroom from time to time? A big boost even? Come on, you can tell me. Well, stop your worrying and start taking action. It's time to put those concerns to bed and hop on in yourself with confidence. All you gotta do is reach out to our friends at Hims. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with personalized, doctor-trusted ED treatments delivered right to your door. With Hims in your arsenal, you can leave those anxieties at the bedroom door. So what are you waiting for? Start your free online visit today at hims.com/chilling. That's HIMS.com/chilling for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/chilling. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
It's time to turn off the lights and turn on the dark.
Chilling tales for dark nights.
Good evening, listener. You're listening to Chilling Tales for Dark Nights. On tonight's edition, we invite you to leave behind your safe reality and descend with us into the frightening depths of the most terrifying imaginations with an audio adaptation of frightening fiction about Frights from the Farm. I'm your host, Paul J. McSorley, and tonight I'll be your guide as we traverse the dimly lit corridors of your darkest dreams. I also wanted to take another moment to thank you all for your donations. Every continued share, donation, and comment of support helps. Let's keep growing together. Joining us tonight to help bring to life the frightening fiction of Marty Martin is none other than myself, Paul J. McSorley. Now get your ticket ready, take your seat in our theater of the minds, and brace yourself. It's time to turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Our tale this evening is written by Marty Martin and performed by myself, Paul J. McSorley. In it, a detective's investigation into the dark past of a seemingly cursed town leads to shocking revelations, hidden rituals, and twisted justice, all centered around a chilling farmstead. Now, without further ado, I present to you Farmerville, Episode 5, Cabin by the Cave. Content and Trigger Warning Advisory. Farmerville episodes are not for the prudish or faint of heart and are suggested for readers and listeners 18 years of age and older. Episodes contain sensitive subject matter and elements that make references to alcohol and drug consumption, brutality, crude language, death, domestic abuse, flashbacks, haunting, kidnapping, mental illness, murder, nudity, racism, religion, sexual assault, sexual situations, suicide, supernatural, trauma, and violence. our narrator. As we've entered the third week of our story after the Holcomb Farm discovery, you may be asking, besides wondering about John Spencer's trip to the pig farm, what does Valkyrie have to do with a town supposedly cursed, doomed for heartache and tragedy? Are all the problems with Valkyrie just coincidence, or has the rising body count eluded you? Revelations are on the way, and more secrets are in jeopardy of being discovered. Return from the pig farm, Wednesday night. Spencer pleaded, "I know that smell. I know that smell. You guys can't be serious. Come on, guys, seriously. Why are we at a pig farm?" Spencer was right about the smell. The distinct aroma of the pig farm was in the night air. Billy and Tom held Spencer's arms as they walked toward the fence of the pig pen while Spencer continued his whining pleas. Billy removed one handcuff and cuffed Spencer to the top of the narrow metal gate that provided a walk-through entrance to the pig pen. The noise of the metal clang of the handcuff hitting the gate was followed by the slight sound of a few oinks and squeals inside the big barn. Billy pulled his pistol out and pointed it at Spencer. "All right, Mr. Spencer, strip." Spencer was resistant, and Billy convinced him with a few smacks across his face with the pistol. Spencer finally complied and removed his clothes. Billy asked Ron and Tom to throw the clothes in a barrel a few feet away from the fence and explained humorlessly that clothes were bad for pigs' digestive systems. Spencer still had his shirt over his arm cuffed to the gate. Billy took his buck knife out and menacingly showed it to Spencer. "Come on, guys, really? Enough already. I'm sorry, I really am, Mr. Farmer. I'm sorry, I was drunk. I didn't mean any harm." Billy cut the shirt off and tossed it in the barrel. He walked toward his cruiser while Spencer continued to plead for mercy. "Mr. Spencer, you might not want to yell too loud unless you want to get those pigs stirred up in there," Billy yelled out with a laugh. The noise created by Billy and Spencer's yelling was agitating the pigs inside the barn, which was evident by the increasing oinks, squeals, and grunts. Spencer let out a nervous laugh. "Those pigs can't get out here, right? Right, guys?" Billy walked back from his cruiser carrying a can of lighter fluid. He walked to the barrel and started a fire. No, hey dude, my wallet's in there, my clothes, my boots. You guys gonna reimburse me for that?" "No, Mr. Spencer, no reimbursements tonight," Billy answered as he started beating on the gate with his flashlight. With a sharp chuckle, Billy started shaking his head. "Sorry, Mr. Spencer, I almost forgot. You're supposed to be on the other side." "Hell no!" Billy opened the gate wide enough to push Spencer to the other side. Spencer tried to fight, slipping in the mud. Billy closed the fence. The creaking of the fence, combined with Spencer's yelling, stirred up the pigs once more. A symphony of pig squeals, oinks, grunts, and fighting rang from inside the barn. Ron and Tom were disturbed as they watched Billy take apparent delight with what was about to happen. The noise from the barn got louder until, suddenly, a stampede of pigs raced out of the barn. Upon seeing the racing pigs approach, Spencer frantically attempted to open the gate without success as Billy beat his hand with the flashlight. Spencer released his grip on the gate and tried to climb over the fence. Billy struck Spencer on the forehead with the flashlight, causing Spencer to fall to the ground and hang from the gate as he slipped in the mud, frantically thrashing to try to get up. The race for a late-night snack was in full speed as the pigs got closer. The squeals of the pigs drowned out Spencer's yells. Before the first bite, the onslaught of pigs ran into Spencer's legs, knocking him off balance as he tried to get away and climb the gate. Ron and Tom couldn't see if Spencer was being bitten or reacting to the rush of 30 or more pigs crashing into him. They turned away and headed toward their cruisers. "Hey, Ron, have you ever done this before?" an angry Tom asked. "No, man, I haven't. I don't know what I thought." The conversation ended when they heard Spencer's yells change from fear to terrifying screams brought on by the pain the feasting pigs were inflicting. They heard the chomping, tearing and fighting over scraps the pigs were making. Ron quickly turned and walked to Spencer, pulled out his pistol, and shot Spencer one time in the head. "What the hell, Ron?" Billy yelled. "We don't got time for this." "He deserved it, Ron." "He deserved to die, but this ain't dying. This is sadistic." They walked back to the cruisers and Billy followed. "Hey, guys, look, I'm sorry. I didn't think about it, that you guys hadn't been here before." Tom told him, "Billy, I'll be honest with you. Look like you were enjoying it." "No, man, it may look that way. I never thought about it. Just my way of dealing with it. It's sick. It really is. But it has to be done. It's tradition." "Tradition?" "Yeah, man. I'll tell you back at the station. Oh, wait up. Almost forgot." Billy walked back toward Spencer. The fire barrel illuminated the pig pen as the pigs continued their squeals and fighting. Tom tapped Ron's arm. "You see that? He's all gone. Just his arm dangling. This is sick." Billy uncuffed the dangling arm and let it fall, creating a new flurry of squeals and pig fighting. Billy returned to Ron and Tom, nonchalantly putting his handcuffs in his handcuff case. Pig Farm Irony. While Ron, Tom, and Billy were at the pig farm, Ken received word from other deputies that they had impounded Spencer's truck and found 7 girls. Ken called Keisha, who was with Jenny, finishing up dinner in Cape Girardeau. "Sorry, Keisha, hate to bother you on your night off, but we really need you back here. We've got a child trafficking case we just stumbled on." "Aye, Ken. I'll be there as soon as I can. I'm down in Cape right now." Jenny looked at Keisha. "I thought you were suspended," Jenny asked with suspicion. "I was, but something just came up about child trafficking and they need me. Sorry." Keisha went home, changed, and went to the sheriff's station. Ken instructed her to head over to the hospital and check with the other deputies, take the lead on the investigation, and coordinate with the FBI when they arrived. Ron, Tom, and Billy returned from the pig farm. Ron and Tom were in a somber mood. However, Billy was upbeat as he told Ken that Spencer had been taken care of. "That shithead deserves what he got. We impounded Spencer's truck and found 7 girls, 5 teenagers, and 2 younger girls, ages 10 and 11 years old." Billy looked at Ron and Tom. "See, guys, he deserved it, especially knowing what we know, trafficking and child porn. He deserved it." Ken told them that the girls were taken to the hospital and an FBI task force was investigating. As Ken was giving them the update, he noticed that Ron was distracted. "You okay, Ron?" "Yeah, and about what Billy just said. The guy deserved to die. But let me ask you guys something. Does this seem weird, morbid, that we do this pig farm routine? I know anyone that's been taken there deserved to die. But it's just weird that the pig farm that you guys use is at the Holcomb's farm. It's repulsive knowing that those crazies killed all those people out there, and we're using the same place. Sorry, guys. It's sick." "Hold on a second," Ken asked, surprised. "What do you mean, the Holcomb farm?" Ron thought this was odd. "Ken, you're acting like you don't know that the Holcomb farm is the pig farm we've used." An astonished Ken told Ron, "No, I didn't. It never occurred to me." "Yeah, Ken," Billy said. "How could you not know it was the same pig farm?" "Never occurred to me. Never been there. Since I've been here, it was used maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe. But I do agree, it's more than weird. It's morbid. Ironically morbid. If I had my way, I'd just shoot him." Ken paused to laugh. "Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. The same pig farm. When I was a kid, I heard rumors, never thought anything of them, and never knew anything about it other than the rumors. When I came back, it was a condition with the elders for me taking the job." "Really?" Ron asked. Yep, I'd take the job, but council law was still to be allowed and enforced, and if necessary, use the pig farm. Tom started laughing. God, man, this town's in the dog ages, isn't it? You got that right. I had forgotten all about the batshit crazy stuff, and for the life of me, I don't know why the government picked this place for Valkyrie. Makes no sense. Just a bunch of morons up there making decisions. Billy yelled, Tradition. That's what it is. Tradition. That big farm out there, before the Holcombs, was owned by someone else. And before them, someone else. That pig farm has been used probably 100 years, and it's tradition of the town council. If we believe the stories, instead of burning people at the stake, they started feeding people to the pigs. In some sort of morality kick, they thought pig feeding was more humane than body burning. Burning at the stake? Tom questioned. Yeah, Tom, Billy said with a laugh. Step out of line in this town. Off to the big farm you go. Ken told them about when he came back. There were extensive negotiations with the council to get permission to bring Valkyrie to Farmerville. Part of the agreement was for no interference with council law. Ken explained to Ron and Tom about there being no elections, that the council chief was the mayor by default, and the city hall functioned like any other city hall, except the county manager kept things running. Billy told them, The council has 13 members. Half of them are still old school, who believe in many of the old ways, the old traditions, witch doctors, ghosts, council court every week, and have been very resistant to change. If they had their way, Valkyrie wouldn't be here, but the financial compensation to the county helps with the schools, hospital, and all that stuff. They would have us living in teepees if they could get away with it, Billy joked. They wouldn't have a fast food place in town either, which is kind of funny in a way because we don't have a Chinese place in town because of Valkyrie. Tom looked around the room. That's why I have to go to Cape to get Chinese? Valkyrie? Ron and Ken nodded yes. Really? Well, since we're talking about it, tomorrow we're going to Cape and get some Chinese. Hold on, Billy. You said something about council court every week. What's a council court do? The council court takes care of the other civil and criminal cases. Ken cleared his throat in an attempt to stop Billy. It's all right, Ken. He's going to find out eventually. And you and I both know that we're not the only ones who use the pig farm. Before Ken got a chance to say anything, Keisha walked in. Keisha updated Ken and told him that the FBI team arrived at the hospital and took over. Keisha was upset, interrupting their pig farm conversation. It breaks my heart what people do, the sick stuff they do. That Spencer guy and some of his friends had raped a couple of those girls. The FBI's getting all the information. It's just sick. I just don't understand. Billy gave Ron and Tom a knowing look. See, guys, what'd I tell you? The conversation. Although Ken did not show it, finding out about the pig farm and the girls in the truck upset him, and he was feeling bad for Keisha. Damn it. Why all of a sudden is this stuff happening? Nothing happened the last 10 years until now, and in 3 weeks since that crap at the Holcombs, every other day something's popping up. Billy, agitated at Ken's outburst, confronted Ken. You and your brother grew up here. You know about all the stuff that's happened here. It may look like nothing was happening, but the reality was we had a serial killer in town for the last 10 years, and it wasn't the first time either, he said ominously. Maybe it wasn't such a good thing finding out what happened out at that farm. Keisha yelled, Really? What about those people? 200 of them over the past 10 years? At least out there it was contained. Had it not been out there where it was contained, it could have been so much more. More? More than 200? Keisha continued to yell, getting angrier as Billy provoked her. It's happened before, Billy told her with a dire undertone. You didn't grow up here. You don't know what used to happen in this town, in this county, Keisha. There's a reason for the council. And Ken, what we were talking about before, these past 10 years may have seemed quiet to you, but that's because the council police have been staying busy. I don't believe any of that superstitious garbage, ghosts and curses, Ken blasted. Ron glanced around. Me neither, he said unconvincingly. Ghosts? How'd we get on ghosts? Keisha asked. It's all connected, Keisha, Billy answered. Billy gave Ron a disheartened look. Ron, you believe. You may think you don't. Or you may not remember, but you don't have to believe in something for it to be real. Ron, you do believe. That dream you tried to tell me about? Really, Ron? Damn it, Ken said as he walked outside. Where are you going, Ken? Ron asked. Ken didn't answer as the door slammed behind him. Billy, what's wrong with him? It's like I said. You don't have to believe in something for it to be real. And Ken, he doesn't want to believe it's real, but he knows it is. He's got a lot of baggage. Sorry to bring it up, Ron, but you know what happened when your dad was killed, and that dream of yours? That's just part of it. What the hell are you guys talking about? Keisha asked. Billy and Ron looked at Keisha as if they were just realizing she was still there. Billy was upset as he walked away and followed Ken's path outside. Ron, what's all this talk? Town secrets, Keisha, town secrets. You were born here and don't know about the urban legends kids talk about. The things that have happened just too... It's disturbing. Ron? Keisha asked, frightened by the conversation. Keisha, remember when you asked if we were in hell? People like to pretend it's normal here. But I'll tell you, sometimes I believe you're right. We are in hell, Ron told her with frightening sincerity. Oh, dear Jesus, Keisha muttered as she backed up from Ron, tears in her eyes as she walked out, talking aloud to herself. I can't believe this shit. 200 dead girls is better than some superstitious cursed alternative. They can't be serious. I upended my whole life to move here, dear God. Tom, sitting at a desk, watched Keisha leave as Billy walked back in. Tom's curiosity was piqued. Billy? Okay, I'll bite. What's with this council police stuff? Yeah, the council has their own police. It's small, about 8 or 10 of us. And yes, I'm one of them. We kind of handle internal problems. I guess you could say the council police are kind of covert, being that Cherokee County is actually an Indian reservation. What reservation? That's probably what Ken was talking about with the arm twisting needed to bring Valkyrie here. Tribal law trumps civil law, but it works. Always has. And if you've noticed, there's never been a murder here. At least not on the books. Those kinds of things are taken care of by the council police. Billy paused. As for no Chinese places in town, that's all Valkyrie because of concerns about spies. Get out, seriously? Tom smiled, shocked. What have I got myself into? I know. It's kind of like the mob. They whack you. But here, you get the option of being a pig's feast or getting burned at the stake. Billy's mannerisms as he mimed this caused Ron and Tom to join in his laughter. Ron left the station and arrived home around 1 a.m. Laura greeted him with a, "Hi, Dad," as she sat on the couch with Danny. "Hey, kids," Ron replied, feeling a bit awkward with Danny's presence so late at night. Ron headed to the bedroom. "Hey, babe, where you been?" Kelly asked. "There was an accident I had to take care of." "Phew, what's that smell? You smell like you've been working on a pig farm or something. Get in that bathroom, take a shower." Ron nodded and went to the bathroom. Kelly got up and followed him. "You need some help?" Kelly asked flirtatiously. Dr. Fitz's recordings. Early Thursday morning. Ron and Kelly continued reviewing the Fitz sessions. Ron told Kelly that he had talked to Tom. I know I shouldn't have done it. Too late now, but I did talk to Tom about this. Damn, Ron. I know, but for now, let's just assume the only thing Dr. Fitz knows is about Valkyrie. Shit. What? Laura. What about Laura? She's seen him 2 or 3 times. Damn. Ron's concern and imagination took over. Okay. We gotta knock this out this morning and find out when he started, what he knows, and if it's just Valkyrie. Me and Tom can break into his office and what? A lot of these psychiatrists record their sessions, so assuming he's doing that, we can check and make sure he wasn't hypnotizing her or anything. They spent the next few hours reviewing the sessions until Kelly started crying. What's wrong? I found it. The first one. It started 2 years ago. Ron and Kelly were relieved. Ron reassured Kelly that he and Tom would get into Fitz's office that night and make sure that nothing was done to Laura. Ron got ready to go to work for the 1 o'clock meeting. As he was leaving the house, he got a call from Laura. Dad? Danny's dad. Did you hear? What? He's dead. Last night they impounded his truck. He went home and left, and then got in a car wreck. They found a bunch of girls, kids, in his truck. The police and FBI were just at his house telling his mom. Sorry. Are they okay? It's weird, but yeah. His mom told Danny on the phone and he acted relieved. His mom was crying a little bit, but he doesn't even want to go home. It's kind of odd. Danny's okay though, right? Yeah, Dad. He seems fine. Like I said, he seems relieved. That's good. His dad was a shithead. I'm sorry, but at least he's out of their lives now. I know. I gotta get to class. See you later. Thursday meeting, 1 p.m. Ron arrived at the station for the meeting. Several news crews were parked by the front entrance. Keisha arrived shortly after and noticed that Jenny wasn't there with the other news crews. She called Jenny then. When she didn't answer, texted, Sorry about last night, but I did have to work. But where are you at? I figured you'd be all over this child trafficking story. I'm at the station. After a few minutes passed without Jenny responding to Keisha's call or text, Keisha asked Ken, You haven't heard from Jenny Johnson, have you? No, which is surprising. Hope she hasn't done something stupid like post that story. Ken and Keisha looked at each other, having the same thought, then looked outside. Could the reporters be there because Jenny posted her story and not for the child trafficking story? Ken walked to the conference room and asked Agent Phillips if he had heard anything. Phillips made a quick phone call, then passed on that they were safe until the next Monday. FBI Agent Grayson, who's in charge of the trafficking investigation, was in the conference room. He told Ken that they would hold a press conference at 1:30 p.m. Keisha told Ken that she was going to text Jenny about the press conference. Good idea. That girl makes me nervous not knowing where she's at. A few minutes later, Keisha got a reply from Jenny. I got a little drunk last night, and I'm a little hungover. Sorry, but I'll be there. A depressed Phillips started the meeting. These meetings are becoming all too frequent. Way too much going on. Way too much. And now we have a child trafficking case on top of it. Mitchell then told them, Aside from this child trafficking, let's hope nothing else pops up in the next few days. Ron thought, good luck with that. We know the Jenny Johnson story will be out Monday morning, so that gives us a few days to tuck Samantha Osgood away and make sure Lisa Gordon's ready for her role. And hopefully, that will take care of everything. Of course, Grayson's investigation will be ongoing. Phillips mentioned in a foreboding tone. Let's not forget about those videos. Our people are still working on those. Mitchell noticed Ron had something on his mind. Yes, Ron, what is it? I'll chat with you after we're done here. Dr. Fitz revealed. When the meeting ended, Mitchell stayed behind with Ron and Tom, and Ron asked General Kilcullen if he could also stay. Ron and Tom had previously discussed who they should bring in on the Fitz situation. They had already decided on Kilcullen and thought that Mitchell should be included. Ron asked them to listen to the recording, and within a few seconds, Mitchell realized what was going on. Kilcullen expressed disbelief. Is this a prank? You telling me this guy really did this? Afraid so. Not only that, he's been doing it for 2 years. Aside from being embarrassed, Ron explained his concerns about his daughter and other members of Valkyrie. So, Ron, what are you thinking? Mitchell asked. I'm thinking me and Tom are going to his office tonight to download everything he has and, with the help of maybe, let's say, that young tech girl you have, Destiny, we can find out if I'm the only one, which I doubt, but we need to find out. Tom continued. It wouldn't take long at all. Me and Destiny could download everything real quick, go out to Valkyrie, meet with Mitchell, power through, and have our answers within a few hours. Mitchell looked at Kilcullen. What do you think, sir? It's great, but we need to get him right now. Go over there and grab him. And we need to bring Phillips and the FBI in on this. Based on Ron's situation alone, he's already violated Valkyrie protocol. So we have good cause to pick him up. Let Phillips and his people, along with your people, dig through the recordings and files. We got 2 situations. We got Valkyrie, but we also need to find out if he's been doing anything with his other patients, like your daughter, Ron. We need to know that. Once we find out, then we find out if this is something he's just doing on his own, or if he's doing it for somebody, selling information or what. We need to find out, so yeah, call Phillips and go grab Fitz. Yes, sir, Ron and Tom answered. They found Phillips, who was still in the building. Phillips understood the urgency and decided he would take a couple of his agents along with his tech Susan and Destiny from Mitchell's team to pick Fitz up and take him to Valkyrie while the techs gathered all the information. Ron was insistent on going along. However, Phillips convinced Ron that it was best for him to stay out of it, initially, to let the tech people do their jobs. Ron reluctantly agreed. Tom distracted Ron with a proposal for lunch, calling out, Hey, Billy, Ken, Chinese? With a smile, Tom motioned for them to leave. Ron was in full agreement. Good idea. We don't need to get back to Valkyrie till later. Let's go. Ron and Tom arrived at Valkyrie Operations Center around 4 o'clock. Destiny and Susan were working, and Mitchell told them Fitz was picked up without incident and was in a holding cell. Although he hadn't said a word, he acted like he knew what was happening and why. A few minutes later, Phillips walked into the operations center and got Ron's attention, asking him to go outside with him and Mitchell. Tom went along. Ron, they're finding a lot, and I mean a lot. And you were not the only one. What about Laura? I'm sorry, Ron. Ron recognized that Phillips had bad news and got agitated, anticipating what Phillips was going to tell him. Look, Ron, this guy was videoing everything. We haven't gone through all of it. Susan and Destiny are checking everything. But Laura wasn't the only one. So far, they found 2 other girls he's done this to. Done what? An anxious Ron asked. Phillips was uncomfortable in his attempt to tell Ron what Fitz had done. Susan and Destiny told us... An emotional Mitchell interrupted. He didn't rape her, but he's fucking sick. He did oral shit. He's a sick bastard. I'm sorry, Ron." Ron was overcome with emotion as he sank to his knees. Tom knelt next to Ron. "Let's waste his ass, Ron." Ron stood up, looked at Phillips and Mitchell with despair. "I don't know how to tell her what he did." "Don't tell her," Mitchell told him firmly. Tom suggested finding another psychiatrist to help with digging into what Fitz had been doing and whether Laura and the others should be told the truth. Again, he emphasized the situation, meaning Fitz, had to be dealt with. "Tom, you're right. It has to be dealt with. I think a bullet to the head is the right course of action here," Ron angrily told them. Phillips looked at Ron. "Let's put a hold on that for now, but I promise you, Ron, Fitz is never going to see a courtroom. You'll have your justice, but we need to find out if there's anything else relating to Valkyrie." Ron quieted, thinking about what else Tom had said. About what Tom mentioned, finding another psychiatrist. "There's a Dr. Rayford in Cape that my wife sees. Maybe she would be somebody you could bring in." "What's the name?" Phillips asked. "Dr. Linda Rayford." Mitchell then offered a distraction to Ron. "Ron, we still got to pick up Samantha Osgood tonight, so if you want... I mean, it might help keep your mind off this Fitz stuff." Operation Osgood. Ron and Tom went back to the operations with Mitchell and Phillips, where a team had been assembled for what they were calling the Osgood operation. A support staff was included. Ron was put in charge of a team that included Tom and 4 others. The briefing. Mitchell started by providing an update on Samantha Osgood. Her husband was Kevin Osgood, and they had 3 children who were all grown, the youngest being 19 in her freshman year in college. By all appearances, the Osgoods had a comfortable life and $1 million home at the Lake of the Ozarks. Electronic surveillance had been established a week earlier when they found out about Osgood and began drone surveillance of her home. Mitchell emphasized the importance of a plausible reason for Samantha's staged suicide, a reason that would be confirmed by a suicide note that the tech analyst would place on Osgood's computer, a note that would say that the FBI contacted her and she knew she was going to be arrested. Ron's team had 2 objectives. One was to grab Osgood, and the other was setting up her car for a suicide crash. They would grab Osgood and bring her to the Valkyrie complex for processing. Mitchell further emphasized that Samantha's husband, Kevin, was retired military, and it would be important to make sure the staged suicide was believable. There was no evidence that Kevin Osgood knew about Samantha's embezzling activities. Vehicle hijacking software would be used to stop Samantha's car when she was out of the house. Ron's team would grab her and her car. The car would be driven using remote control and crashed. Osgood's home was 90 minutes from Valkyrie. The operation was executed as planned. Ron and his team returned to Valkyrie at 9:10 p.m. Ron's team brought Osgood into the processing room with a black bag over her head and hands flex-cuffed behind her back. Ron and Tom remained as the other team members left. They put Osgood in an interview room. When they removed the black bag from her head, Osgood started yelling, as best she could with duct tape over her mouth. They forced her to sit in a chair and took the duct tape off her mouth on the condition that she would stop yelling. They then left the room and did not answer any of her questions. Tom cracked the door open and looked at Osgood and asked, "Mrs. Osgood, what size shoe do you wear?" Osgood did not give a shoe size and started yelling belligerently at Tom, who quickly closed the door. A few minutes later, Mitchell and Phillips arrived. The 4 of them entered the interview room, and Osgood remained silent with her hands behind her back. "Does she still have the cuffs on?" Mitchell asked. Ron and Tom nodded yes, and Mitchell gave a nod to remove the cuffs. Mitchell stared down Osgood. "What the hell is going on?" Osgood yelled. "Mrs. Osgood, you need to settle down or else the duct tape and the black bag go back on." Osgood complied and settled down. "Mrs. Osgood, it took 15 years, but you've been caught." What are you talking about? Osgood was angry and wouldn't say anything else. Then Mitchell continued. You can't be serious. You've been siphoning money for 15 years, and you're going to sit here and tell us you know nothing? You live in $1 million house and embezzled over $3 million in the last 15 years. You've been caught, and you're going to pretend you don't know anything about it and lie to us? A defensive and combative Samantha snapped back. This has got to be a joke. You can't be serious. How would I embezzle money? Mitchell cut her off, explaining to Osgood exactly how she embezzled the money while she was working at Valkyrie and since then with the weekly deposits. As Mitchell finished, Osgood started laughing. I guess that all sounds good, but I have no idea what bank account or what deposits, and yeah, I know I'm an accountant, but something like that? It's kind of hard to do. Very hard to do, too. I agree, but you are an accountant, and you figured out a way. Mitchell continued to bring up examples and asked her to explain the high income she had above her retirement pension and how she could afford $1 million home. After a small chuckle escaped her lips, Osgood turned a bewildered face toward everyone. My husband, he's a contractor. That's where we make our money. He's been a contractor for 20 years since he retired. It's all legitimate, real contract work he does. You expect us to believe this? 15 years later, you get caught, and you're going to blame your husband? Phillips chimed in. Not blaming him. He's a government contractor. He gets checks every week. And I'm sorry, who are you? Special Agent Phillips with the FBI. Osgood stopped talking for a moment, taking in the FBI part, and besides already being confused, appeared to be scared. Mitchell asked Ron and Tom if Osgood had her laptop in the car. Tom fetched the laptop, came back, and gave it to Osgood. Mitchell told her to log into her bank account. Osgood logged into her bank account and showed it to Mitchell. The other bank account, Mitchell asked. What other account? This is the only bank account I have. If you don't believe me, have your IT guys check my laptop. If I've ever had another bank account, it would be on there. Mitchell was perplexed, and Osgood noticed. Hold on. You wouldn't have gone through all this trouble if there wasn't actual embezzlement happening somewhere. You're telling me money, $3 million, has somehow got out of here? Valkyrie got out of here. And you think I did it? Yes, Mrs. Osgood, that sums it up. I'm telling you, I didn't do any of that. You'd have to be stupid to embezzle money from here, especially knowing what would happen to you. Osgood said as she laughed nervously. I mean, we're at the Valkyrie complex, right? Really, beyond stupid. With the black bag stuff and everything, really, really stupid. And I'm not stupid. She paused, a thought dawning on her. Naive, I guess, because if I wasn't doing it, that means Kevin. The room got quiet. I just can't believe this, Kevin. We share everything. It would never have occurred to me, but he is a tech guy, so I'm sure there's a way to... Well, obviously there's a way to do it, Samantha told them as her eyes were watering up. Mitchell grabbed Osgood's laptop and they left the room. She asked one of the DOD officers in the lobby area to watch Osgood as they headed to the operations center. I can't believe this. You guys believe her? Very convincing, and that seems to be the trend these days, with spouses embezzling and throwing each other under the bus. Phillips joked. She is convincing, Ron said. As they entered the operations center, Mitchell yelled out to make sure the suicide letter was removed from the Osgood home, and she handed the laptop to one of the IT techs, Destiny, to check out her story. She also gave instructions to have Kevin Osgood checked out in more detail. Mitchell and Phillips had a quick conversation, then Phillips made some phone calls. What are we going to do with her? Ron asked. Mitchell thought about it. The plane is going to be here in a couple of hours. I guess we need to figure out something, and if what she is saying is true. But that's the typical, I didn't do it, someone else did type of defense. 10 minutes later, the young, very excited Destiny rushed up to Mitchell and Phillips. You need to see this. This is really great. I'm sorry, I don't mean great. It's just the sophistication, but not really all that sophisticated, Destiny rambled. Her laptop has malware. There's nothing on here with any other bank accounts or anything, but somebody has remote access to her computer, and the malware is like 8 years old, but still can work. This is usually the type of thing you would see when multiple computers are being accessed. Once we figure out who's doing it, we can figure out what other computers have been accessed. But someone is definitely using her computer to piggyback, and if you've got a new computer and just transfer everything over, the malware would also transfer. It's really interesting, and it's more complex than that, but... Mitchell stopped her and instructed her to start digging and coordinate with Phillips's people. Ron, Tom, Mitchell, and Phillips returned to the interview room. Osgood was pacing, and Mitchell instructed her to sit down. All right, I've got one important question to ask you, and let's assume I believe you about not knowing, and let's assume your husband did it. The big question, the important question here, is what does he know about this place? About Valkyrie? Does he know anything? And you need to know that I may already know the answer and that you have been under electronic surveillance for a while, so please, be truthful. Osgood looked at her with sincerity and said, He has no idea what this place is about. I'm an accountant, and you know all the stereotypes about accountants. She laughed, still nervous. Really? I'm a stereotypical accountant. I'm one of them. I guess probably a dumber one, considering why I'm sitting here right now, but I wouldn't think he had a clue as to what was going on here. And assuming he could access my work, it's only invoices paid to companies. Things like payroll were never on my side. My side just dealt with paying bills. So the answer to your question is no. I've never told him what went on here or the mission of this place. I never would. Thank you. And I assume you do understand. We're going to have to keep you here a little longer until we confirm everything. Does that mean you're not sending me to Gitmo? No, unless it turns out you've been lying. Samantha looked at Mitchell with a hesitant expression. What, Mrs. Osgood? You look like you want to ask me something. I don't get it. I can't believe this place is still here. I would have thought it would have been closed with all the crazy stuff that goes on in this town. Why would they have something like this here? It doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Farmerville. The town's insane. Don't you know that? I'm not seeing what you're talking about. How long have you lived here? Osgood asked with a hint of suspicion. Just a couple of years. Well then, you better move before something bad happens to you or your family. What? I didn't believe it either, but there's something about this place. I was here for 10 years, and I'd say at least 20 people died, or a family member died, or cancer, or something horrific happened. I'm not exaggerating. If you want a side project, look it up. That was the reason I left, Osgood said with a remorseful laugh. And look how ironic this is. I left, but I find myself back here. If that isn't some sort of sick karma, I don't know what is. Osgood's demeanor suddenly changed and she smiled. Never mind. I'm just messing with you. The expression on Osgood's face was not convincing. They stepped out of the interview room to talk. You believe that? Mitchell asked Ron and Tom. Was she trying to scare me or something? Ron looked at Mitchell with a stern expression that Tom noticed. I grew up here and had no intention of ever coming back because of the stuff that had happened. But this job came up. Otherwise, I would have never been back. Damn, Ron, you're not very reassuring. Remind me to never ask you for a pep talk. Mitchell cut off their conversation and abruptly went back into the interview room. Mrs. Osgood, there is some bad news because you're dead. You died an hour ago in a car wreck, so that's something we're going to have to figure out. No, can't do that. My kids. How? I'm a good driver. I'm sorry, but we'll figure this out, Mitchell told her as she turned to leave the room. Right. Wait a second. Car wreck? But there's no body, right? That's right. You drove off a bridge and burned up, Mitchell told her with a slight smirk. Couldn't we say someone stole the car? I wouldn't even know that it's missing until tomorrow morning. It could work, couldn't it? Please. Osgood pleaded. Osgood then had something else she wanted to tell them. Whoever picks Kevin up, they need to be careful. He's a gun nut. He's got a bunch of guns, which is okay, but just be careful. He does have this superior attitude and some extreme ideas. He's even one of those who was at the January 6th thing. Mitchell didn't say anything for a few seconds. Why didn't you turn him in? He's my husband. I didn't have to turn him in. He knew how I felt about it. I think deep down he knew it was wrong and just got caught up in it all. He turned himself in. Our oldest boy's a captain in the army, and he threatened Kevin that if he didn't turn himself in, that he would. Kevin served 6 months and is now out on probation. They left the interview room, and as they stood outside looking through the window, Ron started smiling. Phillips, I think I've known you long enough to say I know what you're thinking, and you're thinking it just keeps getting better, right? Couldn't have said it better myself, Ron. Unbelievable. I think we'd agree that she may think her husband knows nothing about this place, but chances are he does. And Mitchell, you know. Oh, I know. The IT people have to do some deep diving tonight, and meanwhile, Mr. Osgood is going to have to get picked up. But who's going to do it? You or us? Tom had a suggestion. Here's a thought. If he's out on probation, doesn't he have probation officer? Phillips smiled. Exactly. We can contact his probation office on this and ask to do a welfare check with a small team to pick him up, acting like it's a routine check for parole violations, which will give us a day to keep him isolated. Mitchell interjected. It's already late, so assuming Mrs. Osgood plays along, we need to let her go home so that she's there when the knock on the door happens. Otherwise, he's gonna know something's up. They discussed the plan and decided that the story would be that Samantha Osgood's car was stolen and crashed, which would explain a police car dropping her at her home late at night. Phillips would coordinate with probation to do a 6 a.m. welfare check and pick up Kevin Osgood. If further investigation revealed that he knew nothing about Valkyrie, then the FBI would prosecute him for the embezzlement. However, if he did know about Valkyrie, he would be turned over to Mitchell and other measures would be taken. As the meeting ended, Phillips told them, let's plan again a meeting in the morning at 9 a.m. at the sheriff's station, but not in Ken's office, in the conference room. It was late when Ron arrived home. He did not tell Kelly what he had found out about Laura and told her the tech people were still working on it. This episode of Chilling Tales for Dark Nights is brought to you by Hims. First impressions matter, folks, and when it comes time to make that first impression in the sack, the last thing you want to be is apologizing for your wet noodle. No, when it's time for action, my friend, it's imperative that you rise to the task. And if you're having any trouble with that, you're gonna want to link up with our good friends at Hims. Hims sends affordable and effective ED treatments straight to your door. No need for graphic discussions with your prim and proper doctor, and no embarrassing trips to the local pharmacy. Hims makes it easy. Just answer a few simple questions on their website and a medical provider will determine your best option. They've got a whole range of doctor-trusted treatments like Viagra and Cialis, and the generics are up to 95% cheaper. They've got hard mints too. You ever hear of those? These aren't your grandfather's mints, pal. If they were, you'd probably have a few more aunts and uncles. There's no insurance necessary for Hims, and one low price covers your treatments and ongoing care. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, and it's no mystery why. No one should have to suffer with this issue, and that includes you. Listen, big dog, when it's time to lay pipe, I want you primed and ready just like me. There's a reason they call me Perpendicular Paul, you know. Hard mints, baby. Let's get after it. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/chilling. That's HIMS.com/chilling for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/chilling. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Friday morning, Ron got up and went to the gym. He was still having problems dealing with what he had learned about Fitz and Laura and conflicted about telling Kelly. He had to get to the 9 a.m. meeting and was scheduled to work the swing shift. He made a stop at Carolina Park looking for his friends, but they were not there. He did see Rose in the playground area playing with 3 children. Ron parked his cruiser and sat at his regular table. Rose noticed and walked over and sat with him. "Hi, Rose. Whose kids are those?" "My grandkids." "I've never seen them around. Where have they been hiding?" "They're not hiding. They've always been around somewhere. But you've never seen them before?" "No." Rose gave Ron a dismayed look. "What?" "I find it interesting that you've never seen them before, and suddenly today you see them. It's just strange." Rose told him sinisterly as she got up and walked away with her eerie laugh. Friday meeting, 9 a.m. Ron entered the station and thought, another meeting. Way too many of these. Phillips gave their update on Samantha Osgood, the computer hacking and embezzlement, including picking up her husband, who was being held at the federal facility in Cape Girardeau. Unfortunately for Mr. Osgood, they did find a couple of unregistered weapons, which is a parole violation. However, the weapons are a moot point because he'll be getting prosecuted for embezzlement. It turns out his wife's computer was not the only one. He was hacked into several others at Valkyrie. Overnight, we established a task force to track down what information he obtained and whom he has shared it with. Between our people and Mitchell's people, we'll trace everything that can be traced to see who he shared it with, if he did at all. Phillips paused as he looked at his laptop. You guys know me, and by now I usually start out with, "It just keeps getting better." But sorry, it's getting worse. Yesterday, we had a situation with the Valkyrie psychiatrist, Dr. Fitz, who was, believe it or not, hypnotizing some of his patients. The female patients, he was doing stuff to them, and I'll leave it at that. Then we got Valkyrie. He was hypnotizing some of the guys and getting information on Valkyrie plans and ongoing operations. Ken interrupted. Hold on. Are you serious? Hypnotizing? Dead serious, Ken. I'll be honest. I don't understand the science behind it, but I know it works. Phillips said with levity as Tom burst out laughing. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's not funny. It's just when you said that scene in Tropic Thunder flashed in my head where Nick Nolte said, I don't know what it's called. I just know the sound it makes when it takes a man's life. I'm sorry, guys. Ron and the others laughed at Tom's Nick Nolte impersonation. That's all right, Tom. Great Nick Nolte impersonation. Love that movie. Everyone savored the momentary humor. Hypnotizing, Ken said in a way that made everyone continue laughing. As the laughter stopped, Phillips continued. All right, back to it. Turns out Fitz was working for someone, and it wasn't the obvious spy stuff like China or Russia, or some domestic terrorist or anything like that. Phillips paused as he looked around the room. He was reporting to 2 congresswomen who somehow found out about Valkyrie. The previous mood of levity was stricken by sudden disbelief and anger. I can see the anger on your faces, and I'll tell you, when we told General Kilcullen this morning, he was livid and has been on the phone and in meetings ever since. Not sure what's going to happen, but I'm sure we'll know something within a few hours. The room was quiet until Ron asked, We're still going to kill this guy, right? If I have anything to do with it, definitely. Phillips's answer was not reassuring for Ron as the meeting ended. Hey, Ron, Tom, can you guys meet me out at Valkyrie Operations Center? Mitchell asked. Sure, when? Now. They left the sheriff's station and drove to Valkyrie. Ron was anxious, anticipating that maybe a decision had been made to get rid of Fitz. When Ron arrived, they met Mitchell and walked to Kilcullen's office. When they entered the office, Ron noticed that Kilcullen was on the secure encrypted phone. Kilcullen motioned them to take a seat. Kilcullen was talking to somebody and answering yes sir a lot. When Kilcullen hung up, he looked at Mitchell. What we talked about this morning, it's a go. The plane's in the air as we speak. Kilcullen then focused his attention on Ron and Tom. You guys ready to put on a dog and pony show? Ron and Tom looked at each other and answered, yes sir. The Congresswomen. The interrogation of Dr. Fitz revealed that he was recruited by Congresswoman Marsha Brown and Congresswoman Angela Cortez. A review of the Congresswomen's accounts showed another source who was also on the airplane scheduled to arrive within an hour. They waited in the office for the arrival of the small government jet to land at the airfield behind Valkyrie. A short time after the airplane landed, the 2 Congresswomen and Senator Mike Rawlings, along with his aide, a 20-something young woman, were escorted to the office. Ron, Tom, and Mitchell stood off to the side. Without hesitation nor introduction, Cortez started complaining. Hey, look, my phone's not working, and I got some calls I need to make. Why can't I get my phone to work here? Brown chimed in. Same with me, so what's the deal with this? Terry Jennings, the senator's aide, didn't say anything while she checked her phone and expressed agreement with Cortez and Brown. Rawlings smiled at Kilcullen with an expression indicating he knew why the phones didn't work. Kilcullen extended his hand to Rawlings. Good to see you again, Mike. Likewise, Dennis. Good to see you again. Kilcullen looked at Cortez and Brown with a bit of cynicism. Hey, look, first off, my name is not, hey, look, my name is General Kilcullen, General Dennis Kilcullen, and if we're going to be technical about it, 3 stars makes me a lieutenant general, but general will do. Now that that's cleared up, I'll ask if you know where you're at. Cortez retreated her attitude. However, Brown fired back, Yeah, I know where I'm at, General. I'm at some secret army facility, right? Kilcullen smiled and extended his hand and shook their hands as he said, Welcome to Valkyrie. And the reason your phones don't work is exactly like you said, because you are at a secret facility. They probably didn't work on the airplane either. Cortez and Brown wore similar expressions, showing they realized they had asked a stupid question and were embarrassed. Kilcullen asked one of his aides to take them on a tour of the facility. As they were leaving the office, Kilcullen looked at Rawlings. Mike, you've had this tour before, so why don't you hang in the office here? They'll be back in 20 minutes and I'll answer their questions. Mitchell closed the door and Kilcullen asked Rawlings and Mitchell to take a seat at the conference table. Rawlings felt awkward not knowing Mitchell as he glanced at Ron and Tom. I'm Ron. I'm Tom. I guess You know who I am. So why do we have a couple of deputy sheriffs here? Mitchell answered. Ron and Tom, they are real deputies for the county here, but they do double duty, being military assigned to Valkyrie, and I'm Mitchell with the CIA. I have to say, when I got the call from the chairman to fly out here, I was surprised, and even more surprised to see Brown and Cortez on the plane. Kilcullen initiated an awkward pause. You don't need your aide Terry in here with us, do you? No, Mike answered suspiciously. Mitchell smiled as she got Rawlings' attention and angled her laptop to position it where he could see the screen. Rawlings noticed Kilcullen was avoiding eye contact and looked angry as Mitchell started to talk. Senator, the reason those two congresswomen are here is because somehow they found out about this place. They know about Valkyrie. I thought something was up, but not only did they found out about this place a few years ago, Mitchell explained. Those two women have been a pain in everyone's ass. Kilcullen angrily interrupted. Mike, let her finish. Not only did they find out about this place, they recruited the psychiatrist who works here, the very person who's entrusted with the minds of the guys here, the guys he's supposed to be helping with their PTSD. You know what that psychiatrist was doing? He was hypnotizing them. Rawlings wore his disbelief on his face. Yes, hypnotizing, and during those sessions, he was getting information on Valkyrie's plans and operations and passing it on to Brown and Cortez. It was apparent to Kilcullen and the others that Rawlings was surprised. As he looked around the room, he got nervous. Mitchell broke the silence. Oh, Senator, no reason to be nervous. Don't worry, you're safe. However, look at the monitor here, and I want you to look at the addresses of these emails. See these emails from Brown and Cortez? Mitchell spent about 30 seconds scrolling through the emails, just long enough for Rawlings to see them until he realized that it was his assistant, Terry Jennings, who was communicating with Brown and Cortez about Valkyrie. I can tell from your expression, Senator, that you didn't know any of this. It gets worse. Your young assistant, besides to Brown and Cortez, was passing the information on to one of our enemies. Rawlings got angry, attempted to stand up, and was forced back down into his seat by a hand from Ron and Tom on each of his shoulders. Look, I had no idea she was doing this, a very nervous Rawlings told them. We know you didn't, and even though we know, I think the General's question here is how Miss Jennings found out, Mitchell calmly stated. Kilcullen looked at Rawlings with disdain. Yes, Mike, I'm angry, but more than that, I'm disappointed. We know how she found out, and for that, I'm disappointed and ashamed for you. Kilcullen let Mitchell continue. We already know. It's the same way a lot of secrets get found out when someone in power decides to have a fling with a subordinate. No, that's not. Don't deny it. We know. You've got to be kidding if you're going to sit there and say that's not what happened. You know better, Senator. You know better. The good news for you is you're going home tonight. Anyway. Damn it, Mike. The entire Valkyrie operation has been put in jeopardy, Kilcullen yelled. Kilcullen continued chastising Rawlings until there was a knock on the door. Come in. Brown, Cortez, and Jennings entered the office with their escort. Kilcullen stood up. Welcome back, Congresswomen. I hope it was a good tour. I'll answer all your questions on our way out to the plane, and I'll be flying back with you, Kilcullen told them as he led them out of the office. Kilcullen exchanged a knowing nod with Mitchell. As they walked through the building, Mitchell lagged behind as she sent a text message. Cortez glanced back and asked, Why does her phone work? Kilcullen thought about if he would answer her. Tom took the cue as he smiled and turned on the charm. Miss Cortez, I'm Tom. For all of us that work here, the phones work. If you worked here, the IT people would program your phone to work. But, all the secret stuff," he said with a laugh. "Oh, I see," Cortez answered as she flirted and initiated small talk with Tom while they walked toward the exit. When they were outside, Kilcullen led the Congresswomen and Jennings to the steps of the aircraft. Tom stopped the senator. "Senator, you don't look too good. Are you feeling okay?" "I'm feeling fine." Ron lightly grabbed Rawlings' arm. "You're right, Tom. You don't look good." Senator Rawlings was confused as Ron asked one of the other nearby soldiers to take him back inside. Rawlings reluctantly complied as he looked at Tom and Ron with an understanding of what might be happening. Ron and Tom entered the aircraft. The Congresswomen and Jennings were seated facing the rear of the aircraft, and Kilcullen and Mitchell sat in front of them answering the array of questions Brown and Cortez were asking. A few minutes later, Kilcullen and Mitchell watched two soldiers bring a prisoner on board dressed in a yellow prison jumpsuit, black bag over the head with ankle irons, belly chains, and handcuffs on. The soldiers walked the prisoner past the group, which caught Brown's and Cortez's attention. Kilcullen and Mitchell stood up and behind their seats facing Brown and Cortez. Mitchell turned the prisoner around to face the Congresswomen and then removed the black bag. Brown, Cortez, and Jennings were surprised. Kilcullen watched them as he asked, "Do any of you know Dr. Fitz?" "Who?" Brown innocently blurted out. Cortez turned her head toward Brown. "You really are stupid, aren't you?" Cortez knew what was going on, although she was not confident to what extent. Kilcullen maintained a smirk as Brown made several attempts to disavow any knowledge of Dr. Fitz. "How about you, young lady?" Kilcullen asked Jennings. Jennings was too nervous to answer. She looked at Fitz, who gave her a knowing shrug and said, "Sorry, ladies." "What do you mean, sorry? What's going on here?" Brown yelled. Cortez gave Brown a look of astonishment that almost made Kilcullen and the others laugh as she told Brown, Really? You can't be this dumb." Mitchell opened her laptop and showed them a few seconds of a video meeting with Cortez, Brown, Jennings, and Fitz in attendance. Kilcullen rubbed his head. "Unfortunately, Miss Cortez, being the smartest dumb person in the room, doesn't help in cases of treason." Brown started to yell as Mitchell nodded toward two soldiers standing behind Brown. They quickly reached around, duct taped her mouth, and tied her hands and feet to the seat brackets with flex cuffs. Cortez didn't say anything as she started to cry and shake with nervousness. Jennings said nothing, avoiding eye contact by looking at her lap. The soldiers then restrained Jennings. Cortez looked up at Kilcullen with tear-filled Bambi eyes looking for sympathy. Kilcullen wasn't feeling sympathetic. "Unfortunately, Miss Cortez, as I just said, even if you are the smartest dumb person in the room, it doesn't help." Cortez started to say something, but as she stammered, Fitz interrupted her. "He's right. The general's right. It doesn't matter how sorry you are, or we are. It doesn't fix it. It doesn't make it better. What we did was treason. Accept it." Brown yelled unintelligibly through the duct tape as Fitz continued. "All the yelling and crying in the world isn't going to help us. Only God can help us, and I doubt if He will. What we did was wrong, girls. It was wrong. People will die, and probably have died because of what we did, and I'm not just talking about us." Fitz sat down and was restrained to his seat as Mitchell looked at the Congresswomen and sternly yelled at them. "A lot of heads are going to roll because of what you and what Jennings have done. Did you know she was selling this information to China? And you, Congresswoman Brown, of all the people, as much as you rant your garbage about China, it's ironic that your last action was treason, helping China, giving them secrets." Kilcullen glared at the Congresswoman. "I wish we were parting ways under better circumstances. Unfortunately, what you've done leaves us no options." Kilcullen walked toward the exit of the plane. I'm tired of this. Goodbye." Almost as if choreographed, Mitchell, Ron, Tom, and the two soldiers followed him out in perfect formation. During the walk back to the operations center, Mitchell got Ron's attention. "Hey, Ron, you guys can go back to work, and I'll text you when Fitz has been taken care of. Or if you want to hang around about 90 minutes, you can watch for yourself. Up to you." "Nah, thank you, Mitchell. We know how it's going to end. Just let me know when it's done, and we'll just head back to work." "Hey, Mitchell." "What, Tom?" "You messed up in there." "Messed up what?" "You actually said it out loud, that you were at the CIA." "I guess you got me, Tom," she answered, smiling. Senator Rawlings had been asked to wait in an interview room under the watchful eye of a Department of Defense, DoD, officer. An hour later, Mitchell came for Rawlings and escorted him to the operations center, where he was greeted by Konkol. "Mike, take a seat and watch these two monitors on the wall over here." Rawlings looked at the monitors. One was the inside view of the cockpit of the plane in flight without a pilot, and the other monitor was the cabin view with the congresswomen, Fitz, and Jennings. "What's this?" "Well, Mike, since this whole thing is your doing, it's only fitting that you watch how it has to be undone." A male voice called out from behind a partition in the corner of the OPS center. "Sir, we're 1 minute out from the runway." "Mike, if you're wondering why you don't see a pilot in the cockpit, that's because our man over in the corner is the pilot." Over the next 30 seconds, they listened to communication between the pilot and the air traffic control tower on final approach toward the runway at an airport outside of Washington, D.C., until they heard this communication. Tower, we have a serious problem. These women are fighting. Hey, you guys can't be up here. Get out! Get off me! Get out of here!" Transmission ended, followed by static. They watched the cockpit view while the tower tried to communicate with the pilot. The plane veered straight up, and 20 seconds later, it nosedived toward the runway as the occupants screamed, except for Fitz. It was difficult to hear clearly. However, it sounded like he was laughing. Rawlings tried to stand up and turn away. Konkol stopped him and forced him to sit, watch, and listen to the screams. They watched a few more seconds as the plane plummeted toward the runway until it impacted. The monitors went blank. The air traffic control tower announced an emergency and started to reroute other aircraft. "You can turn the speaker off," Mitchell instructed. Konkol clutched Rawlings' shoulder. "Mike, good thing you missed your flight." At the Cherokee Diner, Ron, Tom, Billy, and Keisha were finishing dinner. Ron received a text message from Mitchell. "It's done." Ron showed Tom the text message, who smiled and gave Ron a pat on the back. Ron felt a rush of relief that Billy and Keisha noticed. "You look like you just won the lottery, Ron. What's up?" Keisha asked. Ron reflected as he looked at Billy and Keisha. "It's funny. Have you ever gotten bad news that was also good news?" A cool November night. Friday evening. A few hours later, Ron was back at work and looking forward to a quiet evening. It was a cool November moonlit evening, and he decided to check a few places known for drug use and kids parking. Ron pulled onto a dirt road as he turned on the kill switch used to turn off all the lights, including brake lights. He drove slowly down the half-mile road that came back out of the main road. He saw a vehicle ahead and stopped. He didn't see any activity in the vehicle and couldn't tell if anyone was in it. The full moon provided enough light to see the license plate, so he ran a license check. The vehicle came back registered to Sean Fisher. The name was familiar to Ron because Sean was known to be involved in the meth drug market. Ron called in his location, speaking quietly so as not to alert anyone in the other car. He exited his vehicle and maintained caution, his right hand on his pistol, his left hand holding a flashlight. He approached slowly and quietly. As he approached a few steps closer, he saw the driver's window was open, but the driver didn't notice Ron. There was a topless girl in Sean's lap. Ron announced his presence. "Sean Fisher, this is Deputy Farmer." "Oh, shit," a young man's voice moaned. The girl stopped what she was doing but did not get up from his lap. "All right, young lady, get up from there and get dressed." The girl did not make a move. Ron assumed she was embarrassed. "That's it. Get up and get dressed," Ron said with more authority. The girl quickly sat up, briefly exposing her breasts while grabbing her sweatshirt and got out of the car. "Damn it, Dad!" A surprised Ron took a few steps back as he realized the driver was Danny. For a brief moment, the image of Laura and Danny flashed in his mind, followed by images of what he imagined Dr. Fitz had done. Ron was angry and froze. Laura yelled, "Dad!" a few times as Danny nervously got out of the car, awkwardly zipping his pants up. Laura stood on the other side of the car, angry and embarrassed. "Dad, what are you doing?" "What am I doing? Danny, this isn't your car." "No, sir, I know whose car it is. Sean Fisher's, who happens to be a meth dealer," Ron said loudly as he focused his attention on Laura. Ron turned and walked back toward his cruiser. Laura followed. "Dad, you following us or something?" "Weren't you listening? I didn't know it was you guys. I thought it was Fisher, the meth dealer. What would have happened if someone else caught you or you got pulled over?" Laura didn't say anything. "Mr. Farmer, I'm sorry." Ron gave Danny the angry dad look, then got closer to Laura and lowered his voice. "You gotta be more careful. You didn't know whose car this was?" "No, Dad, Danny borrowed it." "Christ! It's not just about the meth car. I can't unsee what I saw." "I guess we're even then," a tearful Laura answered sarcastically. "What? Never mind." They stood in silence for a few seconds, then Ron got into his cruiser. "You want to ride with me, or—" "I'll ride with Danny," Laura angrily answered as she stormed off. Ron turned his lights on and left. Laura and Danny stood outside the car. Laura looked at Danny, who had what she thought was a weird smile. "What?" "Can we finish?" "No, we can't finish." When Ron got home, he was still upset. He played video games for an hour before going to bed, but it didn't help. "You okay?" Kelly asked. "Yeah. Remember when we were talking about how you thought Anna might be gay and I thought it might be Laura? Well, it's definitely not Laura." "Why not?" Kelly asked. "Because I was out on Spike Road and caught Laura giving Danny a blowjob." "What?" Kelly asked, trying not to laugh. "It's not funny. I can't unsee that, and she was half naked, too." "So what? You've seen her boobs. She runs around here all the time braless in a t-shirt, so get over it." "That's different, and it's still not funny." Kelly kept trying to make light of it. "I don't know, babe. It's pretty funny and ironic when you think about it." "I don't want to think about it." "You said Spike Road, right?" "Yeah." "Same Spike Road we used to go to? And am I wrong, but isn't that where I gave you your first BJ?" "That's different." "How's it different?" "I'm sorry, it's funny. She's just like we were." "I hope not." "What's that mean?" "I'm going to bed." A minute after Ron got in bed, Kelly asked, "Was she okay?" "She'll be okay. She was embarrassed and upset. She did make a smart-ass comment." "About what?" "I told her I couldn't unsee what I saw, and she said that made us even. I guess she had seen you know." "Shit, really?" "Yeah, not so funny now, is it?" Half an hour later, Kelly thought she heard Ron crying. "Honey, what's wrong?" "Didn't want to tell you. I know I told you they didn't find anything yet regarding Laura and Fitz, but they did. I just didn't want you to know." God, what did he do? They didn't want to tell me. They felt bad about it. He didn't rape her, but he did. Phillips and Mitchell were very considerate. They didn't look at any of the videos. Videos? Yeah, he recorded all the sessions, so the 2 tech girls were the ones who found it. I felt bad about confronting them, asking them to give me more details. The one girl, it really bothered her. Later, the FBI girl, Susan, caught up with me in the parking lot and told me. What? He had Laura doing oral sex on him. The way she explained it. He was doing it like an instructional video from start to finish. Sick fuck even cleaned her mouth out afterward. That girl, Susan, was crying her eyes out when she told me. Kelly's reaction was not what Ron had expected. She broke eye contact and said nothing as she stared off toward the window. Ron tried to get her attention for a minute, but she ignored him. Kelly, what's wrong? Kelly. Did he do it more than once? Didn't even think about that. I'll find out. No, we don't need to know, and Laura doesn't need to know either. She can't ever find out. It'll mess with her head forever. Phillips was going to check with Dr. Rayford to see if she could help with the case and what she thought about telling Laura. Is Fitz still alive? Ron hesitated as he thought. Kelly pressed him for an answer. He told her everything about Fitz and the congresswomen. Knowing that Fitz was dead made Kelly happy. He was conflicted about not telling Laura and was now concerned that telling Kelly may have triggered something. They both kept quiet for a minute until Ron told Kelly, "This shit's messing with my head. I keep seeing Laura with Danny, and Fitz. I can't stop it. It won't stop." Kelly gave Ron a kiss on the cheek and whispered, "It'll be okay, babe. You were right. Should have never came back. Coming back has stirred up some bad stuff." Kelly hugged Ron as she told him, "It's really strange, right? Things pop in my head and I never wanted to remember. You know, we could always just get up and leave and move back to the Fort Lewis area. It was nice and we had friends there." "Yeah, but you know this town is never going to let us leave. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so melodramatic." "We'll get through this. Stay positive, Ron. The plus side is that shithead Fitz is dead. It all worked out. We'll check with Linda and see if she can see us. I still think it's better that Laura never finds out. But we'll see what the doctor thinks. I don't know." Saturday morning. Ron and Kelly were in the kitchen when Laura walked in looking for breakfast. Despite what she had learned about Fitz, Kelly made an effort to act normal and not think about it. She put forth a good mood and was feeling a bit mischievous as she asked Laura, "You and Danny going to church with us tomorrow?" "Probably." "You going to make it to confession today?" "What confession? We never go to confession. What do you mean?" "Oh, you know, after last night," Kelly said with a smile and a knowing nod. "Dad!" Laura gave Ron a death look before storming out of the kitchen. Kelly tried to apologize as she quietly laughed. "Laura, I'm sorry. Kelly looked at Ron. "I probably shouldn't have done that." "No, that was not a good idea. But you would have done that without knowing the other thing I told you last night. That aside, you should probably go talk to her." "Me? I think you should. You were the one who caught her and told me." "Yeah, I'm trying to drop it. I'm also trying to burn it out of my brain." Kelly felt bad about what she had said and followed Laura to her room. She apologized to Laura and returned to the kitchen. "Everything good?" Ron asked. "Yeah, she's fine." Laura walked back into the kitchen to grab her breakfast and gave her dad a quick hug before going back to her room. Ron noticed Kelly had a mischievous look on her face. "What? What is it?" "You didn't notice?" "Notice what?" Ron asked cautiously. Kelly started laughing. "T-shirt, no bra, boobs flopping all over the place." Damn, Kelly, why'd you do that? Ron yelled at Kelly as he threw his coffee mug across the kitchen, breaking it on the wall. Damn it! Ron left the kitchen, went outside, and paced the front lawn. A minute later, Laura approached him and asked, Dad, what's wrong? Then she forced a hug on him. I'm sorry, Dad. We thought it'd be funny. Mom's sorry, too. Sorry about what? The boobs, sorry. I know last night freaked you out. Freaked you out a lot more than it did me. We just thought it'd be funny. Help you get over it. Laura told him lightheartedly. Ron smiled. You guys, it's not funny. Come on, Dad, it's just boobs. Laura animatedly danced around, attempting to make him laugh. Just boobs, Dad. And I know you and Mom are old farts and come from a different time where everybody took modesty pills or something, but today, Dad, everybody sees everybody's boobs and junk. Hell, girls at the pools are pretty much naked. I never knew it bothered you. Yeah, just boobs, Laura, but parents don't see it that way, and one day when you have kids, you'll understand what I'm talking about. However, it didn't bother me before. I never noticed. Until last night. Ron looked at Laura, turning the tables on her as she got embarrassed and walked away. All right, Dad. I'll wear a bra in the house from now on. Don't you dare. If you do that, then I know why you're doing it, and I'll just keep remembering last night all over again. Ron yelled with a laugh. Damn it, Dad! Laura yelled back as she slammed the door. She walked into the kitchen. Laura, everything okay? A concerned Kelly asked. All good except Dad's an asshole. But he's a funny asshole. She answered with a smile. She grabbed a drink from the refrigerator and headed to her bedroom. Ron walked in and started to pick up the broken coffee mug pieces. Kelly smiled. Hey, your daughter just called you a funny asshole. I have my moments. Ron felt a sudden sense of relief. He knew he had overreacted and suddenly realized that Fitz hadn't crossed his mind. He was happy that Fitz was dead. It was nice that everything seemed to be back to normal. Laura's Friday night embarrassment seemed to have passed, and Kelly seemed fine. Everything was as if nothing had happened. Ron had the weekend off and was scheduled to work Monday. Cabin by the Cave, Saturday evening. Ron and Kelly were in the kitchen having dinner when a giddy and excited Laura and Danny walked in and said hello. Laura went to her room to get something while Danny sat at the table with Ron and Kelly and chatted. What are you kids up to tonight? Kelly was asking as Laura returned to the kitchen. A bunch of us were thinking about going camping or maybe just hanging out for a few hours, Laura answered. Danny told them, yeah, there's this cabin in the woods that we're going to, right next to some caves. Ron and Kelly looked at each other, concerned. What? What's wrong? Laura asked. I don't, Kelly started to say. I think your mom is trying to say maybe you shouldn't go out there. Why not? Laura asked. Danny, you're from here. Haven't you heard the stories? Yeah, but they're just stories. Have you told Laura the stories? What stories? Laura asked. Ron hesitated. Maybe Danny should tell you before you go out there because you don't want us telling you the stories. If we do, you probably won't leave the house. Ron told her with a serious tone and expression. Laura and Danny laughed. Okay, Mom and Dad, you scared us. Laura casually tossed off over her shoulder as they left the house. I don't like this, Kelly said sternly as she walked to the window to watch Laura and Danny leave. Ron didn't answer. He brooded. Kelly turned toward Ron, teary-eyed. I don't like this. I'm worried. I told you, bad idea moving back here. Too much history, and your dreams have been getting worse. I know I'm blocking things out and don't like talking about that stuff, but at least the kids will be in a group. Kelly gently laughed. I guess she's over last night's cock block. Enough, you got me this morning. Both of you got me. Yeah, I think they're over it. She'll probably get to finish what she started. Damn it, Kelly! Ron tried to sound mad while holding back his own laughter as Kelly reached over and pulled him in for a hug. But guess what? We're alone. After leaving the house, Laura and Danny stopped to get a bite to eat with their friends Jerry, Sherry, Becky, and Sean before heading to the cabin. It was a short drive, about half a mile to the western edge of town next to the National Forest. They pulled onto a dirt road that had a small clearing where they parked their cars. The dirt road was more like a trail than a road. It was narrow and had a gate with a sign on it, "No trespassing, by order of Cherokee County Sheriff's Department." The friends talked and joked as they climbed over the rusty old gate that swayed with their movement. They followed the trail that led to the cabin for a few minutes. The fall leaves had fallen from the trees and the full moon made it easy to see. The trail was full of dry leaves, but as they traveled farther, broken branches cluttered the trail, reducing the shuffling noise of dry leaves with every step. They approached the cabin. In front of the cabin, there was a fire pit that appeared to have been used frequently. When Laura saw the cabin, her curiosity sparked. "That's got to be 100 years old." "Something like that, maybe older, 200 years," Jerry said as he dropped his backpack and proceeded to gather wood to start a fire. Sherry asked if they could go inside. Jerry and Sean explained that the cabin was boarded up, but there were caves behind the cabin they could look at. Laura looked at a signpost that was in front of the cabin. Historical Site, Cherokee County Historical Society. "Why did you guys say let's go to the cabin if we can't go in?" Laura asked as she helped get firewood. "That's just what people say when they come out here. It's just a place to drink some beer and make out," Jerry answered with a laugh that Becky and Sean joined in on. They spent the next half hour by the fire drinking a few beers, except for Laura. Sean asked if any of them wanted to do any of his meth. Only Becky accepted. Becky and Sean got busy making out. "Let's check the caves out," an excited Jerry said as he jumped up and grabbed Sherry's hand. Laura and Danny followed. "You go ahead, we'll catch up with you later," Sean told them. They walked behind the cabin and picked up a narrow trail that led to the cave entrance. "Did you bring a flashlight?" Laura asked Danny. "Yes." "Anyone else bring a flashlight?" she asked. "We got our cell phones. Do they make flashlights anymore?" Jerry joked. The distance from the cabin to the cave entrance was short, 10 or 20 yards, but the closer they got to the entrance, the more difficult it was to walk with an array of obstacles: fallen branches, rocks, twigs, and dry leaves. When they got to the entrance, Danny shined his flashlight inside. The entrance was small for a cave entrance, no bigger than a department store entrance. Laura turned the flashlight on her cell phone on and went first. Then Danny yelled, "Shit!" as he stepped away from the wall. "There's something on the wall. It's on my hand." They looked at his hand. Laura looked at the wall and started to laugh. It was slimy moss. They kept moving forward, being careful to watch their footing, although it did look like a well-traveled path. "Is it raining?" Sherry asked, reacting to water droplets she felt. "What?" Laura asked. "Listen, you hear it?" They stopped, looked around, and shined their lights toward the ceiling and the walls. It was condensation. "It's just water. These caves have water running through them a lot," Danny explained. "Okay, but what about that smell? That odor smells weird," Sherry said nervously as she stumbled. "That is a weird smell. It smells like metal or something," Laura said as she carefully walked ahead. "That's probably Sean out there smoking his meth and it's just coming in here," Jerry said jokingly, which generated laughs that echoed throughout the cave. As they slowly moved forward, Danny directed everyone's attention to the wall where dates and names were engraved. They curiously searched the wall, then Danny etched his and Laura's name on the wall. Fascination with the dates ended as they looked ahead and saw a fork in the path where the cave branched off to the left and right. They thought about which direction to go, and Jerry had the idea of splitting up, which Laura resisted, but Jerry and Sherry insisted. Jerry and Sherry chose the right side, and Laura and Danny took the left. Laura was still reluctant to split up, and told Jerry and Sherry not to go too far. Laura and Danny walked forward and took note that the height of the cave ceiling shrank to a point where they had to be careful not to hit their heads. It was cramped. Laura put her phone in her pocket and followed Danny's flashlight as they took slow, deliberate steps. Danny gave Laura a peck on the cheek. "Hey, we're alone. You wanna—" "No, Danny, this isn't romantic in here. It's kind of creepy and it smells." "Okay. How about just a quick, "No, nothing in here. I'll do that later, okay? Turn the flashlight off," Laura told Danny as she peered further down the cave. Danny had a one-track mind as he turned the flashlight off. "Okay, in the dark then." "No, there's something down there." As soon as the flashlight was turned off, a dim glow emitted from further down the cave. They walked ahead to investigate. Laura was having second thoughts, but the light piqued their curiosity. Laura was getting nervous as they got closer to the light. The cave sounds didn't help. The echoes created by their footsteps, along with the dripping running water and the damp smell, were enough to convince Laura things were getting creepy. As they ventured ahead, they came to a slight turn where the glow was coming from. 10 yards ahead, the light looked like a light bulb hanging from a wire. As they arrived at the light, Laura became even more nervous and Danny noticed. "What's wrong?" Danny asked as they both looked at the light bulb hanging from an electric wire that led further back into the cave where they could see the faint dim of another light. "What's wrong? Don't you get it? An electric light means somebody's back here, and we need to get out of here," she told Danny as she made a sudden turn to leave. "Anna? Shit fuck!" Laura screamed, her voice echoing throughout the cave as she stumbled backward trying to get away from something. Danny caught her. Laura was panicking and started walking as fast as she could to get out of the cave. They heard Jerry asking if they were okay, his voice echoing throughout the cave. Danny thought the echoes were funny as he answered, telling the others they were okay. Laura was frightened, and with every step heading back, she seemed to get winded, hyperventilating. They stopped where the cave branched. Laura leaned up against the wall, catching her breath. Danny was concerned. Jerry and Sherry met them, talked for a minute while Laura caught her breath, and then headed out. Laura and Danny waited another minute until Laura had caught her breath, then started to walk. Danny pointed his flashlight down the other branch of the cave, the light reflecting as Laura turned slightly to look behind her. "God damn it!" A startled Laura yelled out as she fell. Laura's cry frightened Danny as he bent down to help her stand up. "What's going on with you?" "You didn't see it? Did you see it?" Laura pleaded, sobbing. Danny hadn't seen anything. He helped her up and steered her toward the entrance. Laura was in a hurry and didn't take long to get to the entrance where Jerry and Sherry were waiting. "Look at those two!" Jerry pointed at Becky standing over Sean. "Let's get out of here," Laura, still frightened, demanded as she walked toward Becky and Sean. As they got closer, Laura noticed that Sean's pants were down around his knees and Becky had a glazed look on her face, staring down at Sean. "I think he's dead," Becky blurted out, a very slight smile on her face. Jerry didn't take the comment seriously and joked, "Oh yeah, you screw him to death?" Becky glared at Jerry as all thoughts of the cave left Laura's mind and she knelt next to Sean. "He's dead. How long has he been like this?" Laura asked Becky as she checked his vitals, but she knew he was dead. She knew what dead looked like. Sherry started to rant as Danny asked Laura if he was really dead. Laura stood up and backed away while she pulled her phone out and called 911. Becky knelt down and tried to pull Sean's pants up. "Stop that!" Laura told Becky. She told them they all needed to back away from Sean and leave him the way he was until the police got there. Becky acted confused as if she didn't understand, but Laura insisted as Danny kept asking if Sean was really dead. "Yes, I'm sorry. I know you guys were real good friends." Danny looked upset and asked Becky, "What happened?" "We were, doing it, and he just started shaking, convulsing. I tried to wake him up, but he wouldn't wake up. That was 20 minutes ago. I just waited for you guys to come back," Becky said as she cried. Laura listened to Becky as her thoughts returned to the cave. This can't be happening. Deputies Holt and Jones and an ambulance arrived, followed shortly by detectives. During the next few hours, Laura and Danny sat together while interviews were conducted and Sean's body was removed. Tom called Ron and told him what happened. Ron drove out to be with Laura. After the scene was cleared, Laura drove Danny home, and then she went straight home. When Laura arrived, Ron was already home and had told Kelly about what had happened. Laura walked into the living room, stopped, took one look at her parents, and burst into tears. They consoled her until she started to calm down. "Mom? Dad?" "Yes?" "I know you think I'm all worked up because of another dead body, but that's not it. Sean was an idiot. It wouldn't surprise me if he tried to rape Becky and she killed his ass, but really, that's not what it is," she told them with a nervous giggle. "What is it?" Kelly asked as Laura started to tear up again. "When we were in the cave, there was a light that we followed. An electric light. I don't know how to explain it. I got the shit scared out of me twice. It was Anna. She was there." Kelly gasped and grabbed Ron's hand. "And then I saw an old woman. I don't understand. They were as real as you are sitting here with me," she told them, trembling. Kelly hugged Laura. Ron was distraught and stood up, trying his best to repress his own memories and stories from his childhood. "Don't make sense. Anna? The old woman? She's got to be imagining it." There were no answers to help Laura that night, just the hope of a good night's sleep, or as much sleep as they could get, if any. Laura went to bed and Ron and Kelly sat on the couch together and tried to watch Saturday Night Live. Aside from the morning boob episode, Ron thought Saturday had been a good day. He and Kelly had a rare day and early evening alone. Everything seemed like it was going back to normal, until Laura had come home with her cave story. Sunday morning. Ron and Kelly tried to ignore the cave story as they sat in the kitchen. Kelly did as she did most Sunday mornings and called out to Laura asking if she wanted to go to church with them. The 9 o'clock service, because Kelly had an open house she had to do at 11. Laura walked into the kitchen and told them that she would go to church, grabbed a bite to eat, and went back to her room to shower and change. Ron and Kelly looked at each other, relieved. It seemed as if Laura was doing okay. Kelly asked, "Do you think we should call Linda and ask her to come out and talk to Laura? Maybe we should wait till tomorrow and see how she's doing. Phillips should know by then if Linda's going to help with the Fitz case." "Okay, we'll wait till tomorrow." "Linda won't come out here anyway. I thought you knew she grew up here. She was a year behind us in school, but she left after school and has never come back here." "Oh, I see. Someone else who grew up here, left, and knew it was a bad idea to ever come back," Kelly said, bitterly sarcastic. Open house. The open house was scheduled from 11 to 2 in the afternoon in a new development where Kelly had hoped to land the first sale. Kelly was in a good mood when she left home. However, as 2 o'clock approached, she was anxious to leave. During the previous few hours, she had been distracted periodically with thoughts about Laura in the cave, and thoughts of Dr. Fitz had her oscillating between outrage and outbursts of anger, and finding solace knowing Fitz was dead. Right before 2 o'clock, what Kelly hoped was the last prospect for the day walked in. A young white woman in her mid-20s asked about the house. The woman, who introduced herself as Sarah Crane, was talkative and at times seemed jittery. Kelly felt that the woman was high on drugs, which was reinforced by the constant fast-paced talking. Kelly gave her the tour, exchanging traditional pleasantries as they strolled through the house. The conversation turned to Sarah sharing her love for her husband and pride in his job at Valkyrie Industrial Park. "Shouldn't be talking about this stuff," "You guys have any kids?" Kelly asked. With boastful pride, Sarah told Kelly, "Oh no, maybe one day, but right now my husband's work won't allow us to have kids. He's got one of those top secret clearances where he works at. His work is highly classified." Why is she telling me all this? Doesn't she know she shouldn't be talking about this? "Yeah, that's gotta be rough," Kelly told her, purposefully trying to downplay the importance. "It is. What does your husband do?" "Don't ask me that." "Oh, okay. He's a deputy sheriff." "That's good. He's not one of them, is he?" "One of them? What do you mean?" "One of them. Did you know that half of the deputies are actually in the army at Valkyrie?" "Oh my God." "No, if that were true, he wouldn't be allowed to tell me anyway," Kelly told her in a tone trying to hint to Sarah that she shouldn't be saying what she's saying. But Sarah didn't get the hint. "Maybe he's not supposed to tell me, but he does, and if you're married, you don't have any secrets, so yeah, he does tell me stuff." Stupid girl. Kelly had had enough. It was driving her crazy the way the girl kept going on, and she just lost it on her. "What is wrong with you? You ain't supposed to be talking about this, don't you know that?" Kelly angrily and sternly told her. Sarah immediately got defensive and argued. Kelly then asked, "How many people have you told these stories to about what your husband does?" "I imagine a lot. I told my YouTube followers and they love hearing about it," she told Kelly with prideful glee. "You're joking, right? You're not serious." "What do you mean?" Sarah answered as she tapped on her phone and then showed Kelly her YouTube channel, which infuriated Kelly. "What's wrong? Why are you so upset?" "Why? This is bad. This is really bad. You need to sit down over there while I make a phone call." Kelly instructed her as she got her phone out to call Ron. A brazen and condescending Sarah told Kelly, "This is bullshit. I'm leaving and tell you what. I'm recording you right now and I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel and tell everybody, here's another one of the Valkyrie wives." Sarah barked out a short laugh. "Hey, that would be a good series, the Valkyrie wives. What do you think?" Sarah turned and walked toward the front door. As she reached for the door handle, she heard, "Hey, Sarah." Sarah turned to look at Kelly. 15 minutes later. Ron was at home playing video games with Jack and Charlie when he got a call from a hysterical Kelly. "You need to get over here. She's dead. This girl's dead." Kelly told Ron what led up to shooting the girl. Ron told Kelly to stay where she was and that he was on his way. Ron was concerned, considering options as he thought over what Kelly had told him. When Ron arrived, Kelly was waiting outside and immediately ran to Ron crying. She apologized and rambled about what had happened, explaining that she had to shoot the girl to stop her. They stayed by the car for a few minutes talking as Ron consoled her. "It'll be all right. We're going to fix this. You said she was going to upload a video?" "Yeah, but it didn't. I checked her phone to make sure it wasn't saving to the cloud or something, but she's got a ton of videos. Here's her phone. You guys gotta get that channel taken down," Kelly told him as she showed him the YouTube channel on Sarah's phone. Damn. While they were talking, a car pulled up behind Ron's. "What are they doing here?" Kelly snapped, seeing Kilcullen and Mitchell in the car. "Valkyrie, it's like you said, we gotta take care of that YouTube channel and clean this up." Kelly didn't answer, but she understood as she watched Kilcullen and Mitchell get out of the car. As they approached, Kilcullen put on a smile. "You okay, Kelly?" "Yeah, I'm fine." "Ron, have you been inside yet?" "No, just got here." "We have to go in the back door. She's lying by the front door," Kelly told them, her voice nervously crackling as they walked toward the house. Inside the house, Kelly told the story about what had happened and showed them the YouTube channel. When Kelly had finished, a frustrated Kilcullen scratched his head. I don't understand what's wrong with these people. Don't they get it? Konkol said with disappointment. Kelly, good call. You had no choice. It's unfortunate, but our mission and its secrecy take priority over everything else. I don't think... Kelly interrupted. It's okay, Dennis. It is. She was a bitch. All right, Mitchell. You're going to take care of this, get it all cleaned up? Yes, but first a quick phone call to get this YouTube channel taken down, and I'm going to get a team out here to take care of this. Plus, we got to figure out what to do about her husband. Damn it. It's Sunday, isn't it? Her husband's going to be looking for her, so let's head back to the office and get this figured out. Konkol wanted Ron and Tom to meet them at the office, but Mitchell suggested that she would take care of everything and give an update at the Monday meeting. As everyone was leaving, Ron texted Laura to let her know that he would be home soon. He stayed for a few more minutes to talk with Kelly. As soon as Konkol and Mitchell left, Kelly seemed slightly more relaxed. You going to be okay? Ron asked, concerned about her change in demeanor. Yeah, I just feel weird. I guess the adrenaline or something. Okay to meet you at home? You coming straight home? Shouldn't someone stay here until they get here? Yeah, Ron chuckled. That's right. We totally forgot about that, but yeah, I'll stay here. You go home. Laura and Danny are going to be there. Kelly got in her car and waved bye to Ron. As she drove off, she lowered the window and took in the cool, brisk air. She smiled at herself in the mirror and let out a sigh of relief. While driving, she reflected on what had happened at the open house. The shooting of Sarah Crane. As Sarah Crane reached for the door handle, Kelly got her attention. Hey, Sarah. Sarah turned around. Shit, you pointing a gun at me? Sarah asked in disbelief, but also with a condescending tone, which Kelly did not appreciate. Kelly was pointing her SIG P365 pistol at Sarah. Kelly asked Sarah to sit down, but Sarah refused and argued. The arguing continued for about a minute, during which Kelly thought it was strange for someone to argue when they had a gun pointed at them. But then again, if Sarah was high, it made perfect sense. Kelly lost her patience. You better sit down right now, or I will shoot you. Oh yeah? Go ahead, shoot. Kelly didn't wait, just pulled the trigger. Time felt like it was standing still. When she pulled the trigger, Kelly experienced an immediate euphoric rush as she yelled out with enthusiasm, Yes! God, that felt good! And watched the impact of the bullet hit Sarah in the chest, pushing her backward against the door. Sarah was in disbelief. She tracked Kelly as she came toward her with a sadistic smile on her face. Sarah yelled, You shot me, you bitch! You shot me! Oh, that felt good. Thank you, Sarah. I needed that. And yes, I did. But you're not dead yet. So I'm going to have to shoot you again, Kelly told Sarah with enthusiasm. Kelly fired another shot into the chest. Then she squatted next to Sarah, looking her in the eyes as Sarah tried to speak and gasped for air. Really, Sarah? You're not dead yet? I bet you were a stubborn little girl. Man, oh man, this feels good. Kelly laughed at Sarah's expression of disbelief as she pushed the barrel of the pistol against Sarah's forehead. Sarah flinched when the hot gun barrel touched her. I want to thank you, Sarah. Thank you. I really needed this. I didn't realize until now how much I really missed this, Kelly told her sadly. Kelly stood up, bent over slightly, and put the pistol over Sarah's heart. Kelly slowly examined Sarah's expressions until she pulled the trigger. With the gunshot, Kelly fell to her knees, yelling out with an orgasmic moan. Yes! God! Yes! She studied Sarah's body with admiration, enjoying the moment as she placed the pistol on the floor and laid backward, her feet still underneath. She placed her hands on her pants, letting out another moan. Kelly pleasured herself for 10 minutes. When she finished, she sat up and looked at Sarah. She extended her arm and caressed Sarah's cheek with the back of her hand. An exuberant Kelly sprang up yelling, "I love this shit! I love it!" To be continued, Farmerville, Episode 6. I hope you enjoyed Farmerville Episode 5, Cabin by the Cave, as written by Marty Martin and performed by me, Paul J. McSorley. That brings us to the end of our show. Tune in again next week for more frightening fables. Also, don't forget, we have our own book out. Since 2012, Chilling Tales for Dark Nights has been keeping people awake through the night with terrifying audio renditions of tales from the darkest minds modern memory has to offer. Now, in this first of 3 volumes, collected are 30 tales never before available by some of the most prolific and talented authors of the online community, each one accompanied by a suitably grim illustration by David Romero. Strange cats, body mutilations, demonic apartments, revenge from beyond the grave, and yes, even a man-eating monster or two. All of these and more beckon you further into the darkness. Turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Who needs sleep anyway? Check it out at Amazon today or by going to chillingbook.com. On to the shows. Longtime resident Otis Gyrie has his very own show here on our network, Scary Stories Told in the Dark, which you can hear every Sunday night. We also have Eric Peabody's Horror Hill, a podcast dedicated to some of our deeper and darker tales. We hope you check him out. And Drew Blood's Dark Tales airs Fridays, featuring some southern down-home horror. And don't forget to check out the Fear from the Heartland archives, featuring more than 120 episodes. Well, friends, our weekly descent into the depths has just about come to a close. But before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining us tonight, and remind you to take a moment to stop by our iTunes page and leave Chilling Tales for Dark Nights a 5-star review and a kind word. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can find an archive of our work going back to 2012. And consider signing up as a patron at our website, chillingtalesfordarknights.com, to show your support and get all of our content ad-free. I'm your host of the evening, Paul J. McSorley, and it's been a pleasure. Tune in again next week when we once again turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Sweet dreams, listener. Sweet dreams.
Chilling Tales for Dark Nights.